Imagine a single missile did not attack one target but exploded in the atmosphere, releasing several bombs. It can be from few to dozens in number. Each of these bombs then targeting various different areas, and its damage can be seen over an extensive area. That's what we call as cluster munitions. Cluster munitions have again made a news headline in the context of Israel-Iran war, and about 120 nations the world already have banned it. So why this particular weapon is being used? Why are they considered so dangerous? Let us try to decode this and understand in this particular video. Now, to first of all understand the background of this entire issue, we know that in the context of Iran-Israel war, it has escalated again in the Western Asia. Israel has claimed Iran is using cluster munitions targeting even the civilian infrastructure in Israel as such. These weapons create challenge for air defense system and increases risk for civilian population. And the reason behind this is very simple. For example, when cluster munitions are deployed, when they basically enters the atmosphere, what we see is that rather than one particular missile targeting one particular area, one particular target, they releases multiple smaller bomblets as such. Some munitions disperse over a wide geographic area, and it is designed to cover large zones rather than precise targets. That means these weapons are used as a weapon of terror. These weapons are used with the sole objective of causing extensive damage, even targeting civilian infrastructure, civilian areas as such. Usually they are released at altitude of 7 to 10 kilometers high in the atmosphere. So imagine you have missile is carrying this cluster munitions. Missile first of all exits the atmosphere and then it re-enters the atmosphere. It is during the re-entry phase the missile then explodes and all the munitions that you have present inside is released, and then they scatter over and fall over a large area as such. Now, how does these munitions work? If you try to take a look at this, we have seen in the context of recent Israeli claim that Iran has used such kind of munitions. They stated that about 20 to 24 bomblets were released by the Iranian missile during the particular flight as such. These 20 to 24 bomblets again, they do not fall at the same place, rather they spread across a large area, and over hundreds of meters to even kilometers of area can be affected by it. They appear as orange fireballs at night, and the reason behind this is very simple, because when these munitions they enter in the atmosphere, when they pass through atmosphere, they undergo frictional heating due to the atmospheric gases. It is this frictional heating that releases an orange kind of light flare, and that's why they are compared with orange fireball as such. Some bomblets, the most dangerous point about this particular munitions is that it's not that upon impact all of these munitions blast immediately, they go off immediately. Rather, many such bomblets have been discovered from Israel, from Lebanon also, where they have remained unexploded. And that's when the risk to civilian life increases manifold, because when missile has been intercepted, when munitions have fallen down here and there, and suddenly if someone comes in contact with these munitions, even just by touching them, even just by moving them, they can be triggered and they can blast, causing immediate casualty. Risk to civilians is most extensive from these particular weapons because they are highly indiscriminate in nature. There are two types of weapons that is used in war. One weapon which is largely used to target military infrastructure, military convoys, and other weapons which can be used indiscriminately, can target both civilian and military this personals as such. So cluster munitions are such kind of weapons. Unexploded bomblets behave like landmines. You would have heard about a country called as Cambodia. Even today, thousands and thousands of landmines are found in Cambodia. Every now and then people come in contact with these landmines by accident, and it goes off, killing them we can say immediately as such. Same thing or same effect we can see in the case of unexploded bomblets of cluster munitions. Threat persists long after attack, and that is what makes it much more deadlier in nature. Most importantly, children often have been seen as the victim of such kind of munitions, because many times they look like a small ball. It look like children that's something they can play with. They do not know how explosive, how dangerous it is, and when they come in contact with it, when they touch it, it goes off. And the example of this we can see from such kind of image that was captured recently. You can see this is how the munitions look like within a missile structure. You have so many such kind of cluster munitions, cluster bombs, each of them deadly as possible. Impact in Israel, if you try to understand, this is the actual aerial photograph taken, which Israel has claimed is through how Iran has launched cluster munitions. You can see orange kind of glowing light coming from this weapons as such. Now bomblets threaten people more than buildings, because if it is a small bomb, it falls on a building, the damage would be relatively lesser. But if fall in the areas where you have civilian infrastructure, it would fall in the area, and the people who are not able to take shelter during the air raid warning, they can immediately be killed if they come in contact with such munitions. Such attacks mainly targeted central Israel in this context, and at least 3 deaths have been reported directly as a result of use of cluster munitions. Such authorities have warned residents not to touch unexploded devices if they come in contact with this. Now, the biggest problem is that we know Israel has been able to repel most of the Iranian attack, whether it is through drones or missiles, by using their air defense system. For example, Iran uses Arrow system to intercept ballistic missile. It also has a well-developed Iron Dome system, which is popular all across the world, famous all across the world, that intercepts short-range rockets. This particular system Israel has continuously used against the rocket launches through the Lebanese territory by Hezbollah or from Gaza Strip by Hamas as well. Now, once warhead, problem with this cluster munitions is that these air defense systems are not that effective, and the reason is because once the missile enters the atmosphere, we have discussed it splits. It basically split into bomblets, and interception becomes quite difficult, because if you have one target, you can easily destroy it by kinetic velocity. But if it is 20 to 24 targets, even if 1 or 2 targets are destroyed, then there is a high possibility that some of these bomblets would be able to fall in the civilian areas. Air defense systems struggle against dispersed submunitions that make it very deadly. They are not coming at one particular point that radar can easily track it and hit by a missile or some system as such. So the possibility of them bypassing the air defense systems is very high, and its example, its effect we are seeing in the Israel itself. Iranian missile system that Iran has basically, as per Israel, that Iran has used to transport and fire these cluster munitions to the Israeli territory are two. One is called as Khurram Shahar. Khurram Shahar is basically named after the city of Iran, Khurram, and it is a medium range ballistic missile. It is one of the most lethal and potent missile that Iran has in its arsenal. So Khurram Shahar has been used as a carrier of cluster munitions. At the same time, it has been claimed to carry multiple warhead. Other missile that is of short range, which Iran has continuously used, is called as Zulfiqar. So Zulfiqar and Khurram Shahar both reportedly have been equipped with cluster submunitions and have continuously been fired against the Israeli territory. So the question is that if it is so deadly, if civilians can also be targeted during war by such cluster munitions, is it legal to use it? And there comes the biggest problem, that obviously we have an international law and treaty that is called as Convention on Cluster Munitions Treaty. About more than 120 countries have signed the treaty. They have stated that these munitions would not be used by them whenever they have a warlike situation. But as far as the current parties such as Israel, Iran, and even United States of America is concerned, they are not signatories of this particular treaty. That means they have not, we can say, they have not clearly stated that they will not use these munitions in war. And that's why we have seen many such uses in the past also. Israel also has reportedly used these munitions to target Lebanese territory, Lebanon. Similarly, US has used these munitions multiple times, reportedly in the Vietnam War, Afghanistan War, Iraq War also. But overall, Geneva Convention that generally governs the war of law, this we can say law of the war, it also prohibits use of this weapon in the civilian areas. Geneva Convention does not prohibit that countries cannot use cluster munitions. It clearly, however, states that these munitions should be used only to target military infrastructure, military targets, not civilian areas. But today, what we are seeing in the Israel is the targeting of civilian areas by the cluster munitions being continuously fired by Iran. Such. So, to some extent, we can say it is a clear-cut violation of Geneva Convention. Historical uses, as far as the first historical use of such munitions is concerned, it was done during the World War II by the Nazi Germany. A sketch of this we can see clearly here, that was posted in the British newspaper, and during this particular use, United Kingdom was targeted by cluster munitions. Similarly, US has used it in Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, even in Laos, as we have discussed. And most recently, it is reported that US has given such kind of munitions to Ukraine as well. And not only the Ukraine, but also Russia, while targeting Ukrainian territory, have multiple times used such kind of cluster munitions, which has led to unfortunate death of many civilians in the country. So the biggest point about this particular munitions we have to keep in mind is that these munitions are considered as a weapon of mass terror, weapon that can inflict significant casualty, and not only military casualty but human casualty, civilian casualties. However, as far as its uses are concerned, it remains controversial due to the humanitarian risks. So that's all about this particular video. I hope you liked the video. If you understood the concept, hit the like button, share it with aspirants, as well as subscribe channel for more content. Thank you very much.